Alright, welcome back to a brand new video lesson this week, guys. Today I want to be talking all about voice leading and inversions. I think so often in guitar we think about playing a chord whenever we look at a chord diagram or something like that, or a lead sheet, and we always default to a certain amount of block chord shapes. And this lesson is really geared towards trying to get out of those block chord shapes. So in the intro here, I played this little C major, this full triad here, this F major, and this G major. But there are so many different possible ways to play the same exact thing. We could play that in this position here. On these little triads, we could also play that here. We could play these in multiple different positions. I was opting to play this in this triadic position that maybe you've never come across it before, but it lends itself to really awesome voice leading. So the triad that I'm playing here is this shape here. So this is a root, fifth, and major third. So I have C on the 8th fret of the low E string. First finger is going to stretch down to the 5th fret of the D string. That's going to be my 5th. That's my G note. And then my major third on the 9th fret of the G string. And I'm plucking 6, 4, and 3. So it's a bit of a stretchy kind of shape. But you can also kind of consider this being out of the C position of a G major, if you play it like that. If you were to play like a G major chord and act like you had a capo here, that's like in this position here. So I'm really just taking that note, and that note out of that position. Now when I need to go to the F chord, I'm going to voice lead. So what I'm going to actually do is I'm going to keep my finger planted here, so that I keep the 5th in the bass. So the 5th of F major is C. F-A-C makes a F major triad. So what I want to do here is I want to keep the 5th in the bass and just move my other fingers around so that I get the notes A and C. Well, all I have to do is if I look where my 4th finger is, if I just slide this up a half step, I now have a root, which is F, and now I just need the A. Well, if I slide this up, that's A on the 7th fret of the D string. So check this out. Here I have C. I'm going to just change these fingers around, and now I have an F major triad in second inversion. So here's C major in C major in root position, and now F major in second inversion. So look at that. Listen how that sounds. So I have a 1 and 4, C major and F. This is a really cool voice leading thing. So it's like I let certain notes of the previous chord lead into the next chord tone. So if there's a common tone, like C, C is the 5th of F, and C is the root of C major, I lead that be a common tone. So I keep that in position. Now I need to go figure out my 5 chord. So from this position, where can my 5 be? Well, if I think of my notes G, B, and D, which are the notes that make up a G major chord, I have a B right here, which is 1/2 step lower than C. Okay, so let me build a chord based around that tone. Well, check this out. So here's G major in first inversion. I have B, G, and D. So check this out. All I have to do now when I'm on here is move this down to this chord. Or I can just switch these fingers here like this. So I have C, F, C, G, and C. So I have 1, 4, 1, 5, 1. Which sounds a lot different than these chords down here don't necessarily do anything for voice leading, right? They're just full shapes. Not that they necessarily sound bad, but there are certain things that we can do that can make it sound more like we are playing in a voice leading context, as if we were like, you know, a choir or something like that, and each note kind of rings into the next. listen to the difference. It's a really, really, really cool kind of way to voice lead. Now, the cool thing about this is too, is you're only one note away from making a minor version of it. So if I wanted to make C minor, all I had to do is flat the third. So now I have C minor, C, G, E flat. Now, okay, if I go here and I say, okay, I want to make F minor, I just have to flat the third. So if you know the major variations, you know the minor just by flatting it 1/2 step away. So here's C minor, F minor. Now if I want to go to G dominant 7 or something like that, check out this. All I have to do is find my flat 7 right here. So this is in G7 and first inversion. So I have B, G, D, F. So check out this. We have C minor, F minor, C minor, G7. So notice all this voice leading, right? So I'm not really moving my hand much around here. I just have this and this. If I'm doing it in the major version. Why this is so particularly helpful is it's really nice when it comes to start doing your own solo arrangements and solo interpretations. I think sometimes when it comes to solo arranging for the guitar, we're not necessarily aware of these types of things. So it is really, really cool to kind of put these things together and say, oh, okay, I have this here, I have this here, I have this here, and I have this here. And it's just 1, 4, 5, 1, which is super, super cool. Now you can obviously do this on multiple different strings. So one thing that I think that's kind of cool is to take any basic chord that you can think of, like, okay, if I do C major in this position, so in root position. Now I know that C major is made up of a C, E, and G. Now what I can do is I can think, okay, well, where can I move those notes around to make a new form of G major, or C major, excuse me. So, okay, this is in root position. Now let me find an E. Here's an E here. I should be able, in theory, to be able to make a C major chord in any single string set with any of those notes selected. Just find a C somewhere and say, okay, let me make that chord. Look at that. G, C, E. Oh, here's another version of an E in the bass. So look, I have E, G, C, C. I could go. Another version of it. Here's in second inversion or first inversion also. So E, G. Here's my G up here, my fifth. So I have root, major third, root, fifth. Okay, now let's put the fifth in the bass. There's the fifth. Here's an E. Here's a C. So look at that. There's C major. You would not normally ever see that in a chord diagram. And then back to root position again. Same exact chord shape all the way up here. You can do this on any single string set. So I'm going to say I have C major, 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 C major. In every single possible way that you can play it. C major, C major, C major, C major, C major. Second inversion, root position, first inversion. Okay, so I can play C here. That's F. Move that up a whole step. G, back to C. It's a really, really, really cool technique to be able to move this all over the neck and not necessarily have to think about all of these larger shapes, because when people think about C major, they always default to this version, maybe this version, or maybe this version. They never think about these upper triads at all, or even the lower extensions, which is super, super cool. So whenever you're putting this into a practical sense, whenever you see somebody that's just jamming on like C to F maybe, you can go and it's a nice compliment. So I hope this lesson was cool to you guys, and I hope you dig it, and I will see you in the next video. Take care. Alright, thanks for sticking around for the lesson, guys. I hope you really digged it. Let me know what you'd like to see next, and I will see you all in the next video.